Hi, this is Tim Hamilton, the co-host of the Maryland Crabs, and I'm here with a crab cake for your listening pleasure. What's a crab cake? Well, it's not quite a full episode, it's just a little snippet. Stay tuned and check it out. Make sure you check us out on themarylandcrabs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at MD Crabs Podcast or find us on Facebook at the Maryland Crabs Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe, rate us, iTunes. Go there now.
Hi, Tim. Dana Gould.
Hey, Dana. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. Hey, thanks for jumping on. I know you're a busy man today, so I appreciate talking to you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Actually, I'm a big fan. So for people just joining us, this is Dana Gould. I always consider him a stand-up comic primarily because I was a kid in high school and college watching you on Evening at the Improv and Letterman and everything. And I can tell you some of your bits that you've probably long forgotten about.
I believe you.
But no, I actually am a huge fan of yours.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, people quote bits to me, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Who's that?
Yeah, I know.
That was you.
That guy sounds very talented. Tell me more about that. Yeah, and
I could still do that.
Yeah, I know. People forgotten about it. You can jot it down again. And actually, you're the second Seinfeld alum we've had on this week because we just had John O'Hurley a few days ago.
That's funny.
Jay Peterman, and he's actually coming to Ram's Head this weekend. Actually, so
terrific!
Yeah, he's going to warm up the stage for you.
It's funny, of all the stuff I've done, I get more off that being Fragile Frankie Merman than anything.
You've done a lot. You were on. You wrote for The Simpsons for a long time, and the Ben Stiller Show. All
Parks
that.
And Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec. I mean, and you're part of. You come from Boston. Were you part of that Boston scene in the '80s, which was like Dennis Leary and Stephen Wright? I know they're a little bit older than you are.
Yeah, they Dennis and I used to play hockey together. Yeah, I come from Bobcat and I both come from that scene, which is how this whole thing started. I've known Bob since I started out, and we had the same friends. And at that time when it was the Boston scene in the early '80s was Stephen Wright had just left,
right,
become a star,
and Paula Poundstone was coming out of that too. She might have been a little bit before that,
and then. Yep, and then it was Bobcat and the other sort of big name local guys, Steve Sweeney, Lenny Clark.
Oh yeah, Lenny's great.
Yeah, Lenny Clark.
Lenny Clark.
And then I started out and sort of inherited Bob's group of friends because we were younger and we all had the same taste in music and the same taste in entertainment. We were sort of the JV team of that first blush of comedians, and yeah, we stayed friends, and then we both live in LA. We're still have the same taste in music, still have the same taste. Right. and last year we both had horror comedy shows on television. I had Stan Against Evil on IFC, and Bob had
Misfits and
Monsters on True. So we thought, well, we're the kings of cable comedy horror. So and Bob just kind of casually said, like, hey, we should do some dates. And I just threw it by my agent and said, yeah, we might want to do some stuff. And we thought like one or two places might maybe do one in LA and one in New York. And then we found no, people were really interested. So we booked a little tour.
So you and Bobcat Goldthwait, you have the show with two heads, and you just announced that probably a couple weeks ago, right? That was around the beginning of the month.
Right, yeah.
And you're actually...
I wanted to call it the Hilarious Wilburys.
You know what? It was... you watch Billions, the show Billions on Showtime?
I don't, but I know of it.
There was a great part in that. Yeah, there was a great scene where they're castigating a guy who's like in their group, and they said, "Well, you're not a Wilbury." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And they were going down the list. You were a Wilbury is someone who is just of that premium life content, that ephemeral sort of person that you can put to a super group, and you're just not it. So
you're not a Wilbury.
That's what it said. He goes, "You're not a Wilbury."
That's fantastic.
So you guys are bringing this. Actually, you're going to be at the Kennedy Center right before you hit us. So,
yep.
I mean, that's big time.
Hopefully,
I don't want to scare you, but it's
president.
Big. Yeah, I know. Yeah, actually, I was just going through your Twitter because I quit Twitter because I'm a good person now, and and so I was going through your Twitter, and you pretty much mirrored what I was doing, and I'm just like, and after a while, I'm like, I'm driving myself crazy. You can't. I'm reading on your Twitter, nodding, going, yep.
No, it's amazing. I was saying the other day that here's the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching High Plains Drifter.
I watched that the other day.
The Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah, where he comes to town, he's the ghost, and
yeah.
Spoiler alert.
You don't know he's a ghost until the end.
Yeah, I just screwed everyone else who hasn't seen that for 45 years.
Yeah, but the weird thing about that movie is he's the hero of the movie.
He rapes a woman right off the bat.
He rapes a woman twice. And that used to be just a thing. Ha ha ha.
Right.
Oh, ha ha ha. He rapes a woman. James Bond and then Sean Connery. Right. Oh, he raped her. Ha ha ha. And then only recently, we said, maybe that's not cool.
Right. It's funny you should mention that. I was watching that with my son, and at one point the girl comes in and shoots him because he's in the bathtub. And they restrain her and take the gun away, and she's screaming about rape, and they pull her out. And my son goes, he's the hero? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, but he raped her. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how does that work? I'm like, I never thought about it before. It just never hit me.
My daughter and I, she was in a film class in school, and we watched Goldfinger. And in Goldfinger, he rapes a lesbian straight. And that movie wasn't made 400 years ago. It was only recently that movie was made, and that was acceptable. And then all of a sudden people just go, maybe this isn't cool. And that was the point that I was making.
Yeah, but
and then there's all this pushback on it. Like, if you remember, it took us to about the late 1800s to say slavery. Maybe that's a bad idea.
Right. But
and half the country went, you're out of your mind. And we had a war over it. And that was the birth of Twitter. If I tweet, I like the color yellow, 500,000, you're an asshole. And that's why I find gangbangs so fascinating, just to see that many people get along.
That was a segue. Let's just smooth that in.
Look, there's 6 people there, and they're all getting along. It's not 2 groups of 3 having an argument.
Yeah, and sometimes it's racial harmony, depending on what you're into.
It is so funny how you're just like, hey, wait a minute.
I was watching 16 Candles with my daughter because she's about everything 80s now. She's 15, and we're watching when
I got a 15-year-old too.
Yeah, it's the worst, and it's
it is.
That's awful. I was talking to Tom Papa about that. We spent the entire podcast talking about how bad our daughters were. And my
is she your oldest or your youngest?
My oldest. Middle? She's my oldest.
Yeah. See, mine is the middle. My oldest is 16, and she's actually pretty cool. My middle daughter is just she's very sharp elbows.
Is she at war with your wife or her mother, rather?
No, she's just like, she kind of grunts. She comes in the door, grunts, and goes in her room.
I wish it was that.
That's it.
It's just constant. It's like living with a spider monkey who's going to drop out of the ceiling at any given time. I just never know. And she's okay with me, but she's not okay with her mom. So I always kind of when she starts going off, I push my wife in front of me and said, just get her first. That's why when we sleep in our bed, my side of the bed's the furthest away from the door. So if someone comes in the middle of the night, I have a warning that something's wrong, because while he's struggling with my wife, I can get away and get help or something. But I'm a little selfish.
Well, that's like when they're baby. You want to get this one? I get every other one. Why should I get this?
Can you get this armed intruder? I'll get the next one. I swear. So what do you? So Bob, I'm actually a huge fan of Bob too. I obviously from his 80s film work, which I loved. I loved everything from Burglar on. I thought was fantastic. I do. I loved it. But I saw Share the Warmth, I think, in 88. And I thought that one to me was just fantastic. But he's a very prolific screenwriter and director. And I thought that.
Yeah, no, he's had the thing that we, talk about a lot is that, you have to reinvent yourself. And Bob did. And, you have 2 or 3, careers. And, I'm really, lucky to still be, I was a big comedian, then I became a writer, but I still do comedy. And I have the opinion, 1, it's harder to hit a moving target. And 2, because Bob directs a lot and because I write a lot, that when I do comedy, it's not the grind that it used to be. Like, this is like, we're both really pumped up for this. We can't wait, because it's, it's a special thing. And you set it aside, like, oh, great, we're going to do some dates in May and June. And then, we go back to work. So, we're very lucky to that opportunity.
Plus, you're doing it with your friends. I mean, you have an understanding of, both your abilities, and you kind of riff off each other. And I mean, it's just, it's a good time.
We both know who Topper Heaton is. Right. There's a lot of that.
Right. All the obscure. Yeah. So if no one else is getting it, at least you guys are cracking each other up.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, there's somebody that you can, if you're going to be traveling with somebody that you have a lot of common interests with.
But you're really busy too, and you got the podcast as well. You have you do that once a month.
Yeah, I have the world's most complicated podcast, and Stand Against Evil wrapped, and now I'm developing another show that I'm getting ready to take out and try to sell. Hopefully, it will be on be somewhere. And Stand Against Evil took a lot of time and effort to get that going. And then and now that that's wrapped up, I took a little bit of a break to just sort of recharge. And now I got another idea that I'm going out with, and I'm doing my first live podcast
tomorrow
night, but it's, true to my podcast, it's the most complicated live podcast ever. We have, it's costing me thousands of dollars. We have a live band. We have, it's like, I wanted it to feel like an old episode of The Tonight Show.
Oh, right.
So,
we have the walk on, someone strolls on
my pod. Yeah, we have Tom Kenny, who's the announcer on my podcast. He has a band called Tom Kenny and the High Seas.
SpongeBob.
And they have, he's SpongeBob. And he has a band with a horn section, and so they're going to play. And then I have 3 guests and a desk. And
I'm excited because you have Blaine Capatch. And Blaine, I knew him 30-some years ago when his home base was here in D.C. He was at Garvin's Comedy Club. It was him and Chappelle and Patton Oswalt and Tony Woods.
Oh God, what is his name?
What?
He was Al Gore's roommate at Harvard, and he was a comedian out of there.
I was going to go with Tommy Lee Jones.
Like this.
Oh, I know.
An older guy.
Oh my God, I forgot about that guy. He had this horrible bit where he'd give people in the audience nickels. He'd pay them to laugh, but then it got old. But I mean, I'm sure he was really good.
Remember that he would hold up a box of Crispix
I forgot
and go, "Remember your Latin. 1 Crispix, 2 or more Crispices."
I forgot about that guy.
What was that guy's name?
Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. But I haven't seen Blaine in 30-some years. He had some.
I see him all the time. He's a really good buddy of mine.
He's really talented.
On Twitter, maybe the funniest guy on Twitter.
He's hilarious. There's got some guy named Owen's grandpa who's absolutely hilarious too. If you don't follow
Owen's grandpa, I'll check that out.
Owen's grandpa is absolutely hilarious. But I miss Twitter. I creep on it. I quit it because I had to quit it, but I do creep on it.
I understand. Well, you just can't get into political discussion,
which I do, and I can't help not doing it.
Blaine had my favorite tweet of all time, which was, "You can swear here, right?"
Oh yeah.
His tweet was, "When my wife sees our new toilet, she's gonna shit."
I forgot about Blaine.
It's so great.
He was great. I used to be in awe. He really intimidated me when I started out. They all did.
I don't blame you. He didn't intimidate me.
And Dave Chappelle was up there. He was like 16, and he was just burning the place down. It was this little dumpy comedy club in the middle of the hood. So you come here. So it's a show with 2 heads with Dana Gould and Bobcat Goldthwait. That's at Ram's Head on Stage on Saturday, May 18th at 8:30. You go to ramsheadonstage.com for tickets. And then this one's going to go really fast. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be just in awe because I don't get starstruck often, but the two of you, I'm going to be really intimidated. So I'll be the guy avoiding eye contact.
All nude. We'll be there.
So I know you got another interview right after this, so I got to let you go. But hey, Dana, this really was an honor. I've been a huge fan for the better part of 30 years. So I'm thrilled with the fact I got to talk to you today.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
Right.
I'll see you when I get there.
Yep, I hope to see you. Thanks, Dana.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
This has been the Maryland Crabs podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them in all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.